Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is my first long form video rather, in a while, and this is a very special one. I'm joined by someone who I've admired for a long time, and if you follow cricket seriously, you already know who he is. He is not just a writer or a podcaster, he's the connoisseur of cricket analysis. His work goes beyond numbers and stats, he actually digs into the soul of the game. And his new book, The Art of Batting, is already sparking conversations around the globe. I'll be honest, I was a little nervous. That's the book, guys. And I was a little nervous before this podcast. I still am, to be honest. I mean, talking cricket with someone who probably has forgotten more about the game than most of us will ever learn, that can be intimidating. But then I realized that 99 out of 100, or heck, even 100 out of 100 people would feel the same way. So today, I'm not here just to ask questions, but I'm here to learn. I'm a student myself. This is much like a live class to me. Welcome to the channel, Jarrod.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for the opportunity. And first things first, where are you joining from today?
I live in London, so I'm in London.
London, England. Well, I've been to England as well. I used to live in the UK for 3.5, 4 years, but I was too young, so I don't remember a damn thing. Anyway, India, they are touring England right now. And what's the vibe like? Because number one, Virat Kohli has retired. So how is ECB marketing the series, number one? And because we are talking about Virat Kohli, I just want to get your thoughts on this. Without going into too much of depth, do you think he has timed his test retirement properly?
Uh, I mean, to be honest, England's more about the World Test Championship at the moment. I was just at Lord's, so it was all
Wow.
about WTC final and everything in there. So England doesn't really market their Test series that much because they they sell out anyway, right? Like there are some cities where maybe they have a little bit more trouble, but realistically, there isn't a lot of marketing done with Test cricket. Uh, I mean, there is no way to ever tell if someone's retired at the right time. I think I said it before the Australian series. If he didn't make significant runs in Australia on wickets that generally he's very good on, I think that's it, right? At that stage, he has to admit that it's probably not going to come back, and so that looks like that's what he's done.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, retirement is a very personal decision and we can't comment on it too much. Anyway, I mean, because you showed your book again, can you show it once again to our viewers?
Short 10 times.
Right in the middle of the cover is Virat Kohli. So, was this purely
Hmm.
from a marketing point of view, or is there something more to it?
I don't know why he's in the middle. Actually, I'm just have a look. I don't think there's any specific reason why he's in the middle. It might have been colours. Uh, they asked me who I wanted on the front, and I think I said Grace, Bradman, Viv Richards were certainly three on my list. Um, I would have assumed that I said Sachin as well, and I probably had Smith, Root, Kohli in that, and I think they probably just picked the modern ones from the ones that they wanted. It's pretty random, and I don't know. I'm just having a look at it now. I just wonder if how much of it is also just about how they wanted the design to look, and everything else. But yeah, no, there's no real reason. We just wanted great batters on the front, and we went with a couple of them.
Awesome, awesome. Now, because let's talk about the book a bit more. A couple of questions over here. Number one, because you have done so much of work in this domain, you have done, you have worked with teams, you have worked as an analyst, you have done a lot of gigs here and there. What motivated you to write this book?
It's a good question. I I wanted to see if it was possible to sort of look at who the best batters were at all time, and if there was a way of sort of coming up with a list or information that helped that. And then through that, I listened to this podcast called Thinking Basketball, and the way that they did it was really, really interesting. So I was like, okay, so I think there's a better way than doing it, which is, and I've seen cricket books do this before. Of like, there was a famous one a few years ago, which was the 100th greatest innings or the 50 greatest test innings. And it was like one, two, three, four. And I was just like, well, that's ridiculous because depending on what you are objectively using or subjectively thinking, you can move these people around. And that's what the Thinking Basketball podcast was kind of saying, which is, yeah, we've put this player at number 7, but if you really like this, you could have him number 5. And if you don't like this, you could have him number 15. That's a much fairer way of doing it. And so once you start doing about that, you're thinking about batting really at that point. And uh, it allowed me to. The book really isn't about the list in the end. The book really is more about just who the greatest batters of all time are, um, what their skill sets are, maybe some other players who aren't even great, but how batting came to them and everything else. And so it's really more of a love letter to batting in specifically test batting, but there's a little bit of limiters overs batting in there as well. More than anything else, that was I think the big thing that we really wanted to that I wanted it to be. So yeah, it's sort of started off as an intellectual curiosity and ended up as a love letter.
Fantastic. Is the book tailored for fans? Is it for coaches? Is it for players? Like, what is your target audience with this book, or is it for everyone?
I don't think it's really for coaches. I mean, there's probably some stuff in it that coaches could take away, but it's not like an instruction manual or anything like that. I mean, as I said, there are probably some sections in it that would work as an instruction manual. In fact, I've talked to some people who've already tried to use some stuff that they've read in it, but it's not like that. The same with players. I think if you're writing a book for players, you probably a lot of players would know a lot of this stuff naturally. Maybe not all the bowlers, but certainly a lot of the batters would understand this. Look, I just want to write a book that is for people who love cricket, right? I don't care if you're a coach or a player or a fan. That doesn't really. I would never start a project going, this is for this area of the world. It's just like if you've loved batting, or if you love watching batting, or if you have a favorite batter, this is probably a book that you will enjoy, and that's probably what you should be trying to do.
Fair enough. Is it available in India? Because most of our audience will be Indian viewers.
Well, weirdly enough, so I don't know what happened to the publishing in India, but I've just been told that it is available. The paperback will be available from the 23rd of June.
Oh, wow.
Um, that's hot off the presses. I was only given that an hour ago, so I don't know if that's 100% confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that one is confirmed. The audio book and the digital version are already available in India. It was I don't know if it still is, but it was number one in the Indian cricket book section for quite a while there.
Superb. So you said 23rd of June, right? Just to reiterate.
Yeah, that's for the printed copy. Yeah.
All right. And like, will it be available on Amazon and all as well? Because I think most of us we order books through Amazon, etc.
Yeah, it's already on Amazon, so
Oh,
you can't get the printed copy yet. Well, unless they've updated it while I'm talking to you. But you can already get the Audible version via Amazon, or you can get the what do you call it, digital version via Amazon. So yeah, it's been on Amazon for a while.
all right. So let's just zoom out of the book for a moment. We'll get back to it at the end. Let's talk about the current series. Context is king or queen, right? And the context in which cricket is played are the conditions. I want you to give us some insight into the English conditions. Have they changed from the last time India toured England in 2021? What can we expect from the pitches? Because from the little bit I have read or seen, I think they have gotten flatter under Brendan McCullum. Is that right?
They have got flattened under Brendan McCullum. That was certainly something that they tried to do. But it's more important. This isn't like India or South Africa, where it's actually much easier to change the conditions of the pitches. It's actually a bit harder to do in England, just because, like for instance, let's say England wanted seaming wickets for this series. It's probably not going to seem. It's been a really dry summer in the UK. It's if they didn't want Jadeja to play a part, or Washington, or whoever India's going to choose to play a part, I'm not sure that they can get away with that now, because it's so dry over here. I've been playing cricket at my local ground, and I've never felt a cricket ground harder in the UK than I'm currently feeling over here. So much so that when the ball is hit, it's like being in Australia. It bounces rather than rolls, and that's not a normal thing for the UK. My backyard is really dry. I've seen cricket pitches at various grounds just being flooded by groundsmen and nothing changing. Like, you can't keep the moisture in the surface at the moment. So it doesn't really matter what McCullum wants, I don't think. I don't think there are some years when I think they've asked for certain pitches and they've got them. There are other years when they've asked for certain pitches and not got them. I'd be surprised if they want batting pitches though these days. I think if they were going to play India at the moment, they'd probably, especially without Mohammad Shami playing, I think they'd probably prefer to have seaming wickets against them. But Old Trafford and Edgbaston have been really batting friendly this year, and just like not friendly to any kind of bowling. Middlesex, Lords has been a little bit more up in the middle. Oval's been a little bit more in the middle. And Headingley has got some results on it. But we're not talking about the sort of traditional seaming wickets that you would expect in England. It's just not the summer for that.
But at the same time, like again, from whatever little bit I have read and watched, I think the wobble ball has been still doing a lot of damage in England. And Chris Wokes, he has kind of mastered the art of bowling the wobble, and he is taking a lot of wickets. So number one, is that true? And number two, because in the Indian team, they don't have too many guys who bowl the wobble as such. I mean, even if they do bowl it, it's a bit of here and there. Nobody specializes in it. So how do you think this will affect the result of the series?
I mean, Boomer bowls it. Akash can bowl it. Prashdeep bowls it. So they probably don't have their sort of specialist wobble ball bowlers, which is what you're talking about, which
Yep.
is almost every English bowler now is a specialist wobble ball. I can't remember the last bowler who was picked for England who didn't have it, right? Like it's so big over here. Obviously, it's come out of sort of Jimmy Anderson watching Muhammad Asif and Stuart Clark and learning what it was that was then actually taught in academies in the UK. And bowlers have kind of picked it up when they've come over to play county cricket. So the Australians all bowl it, right? And the reason the Australians bowl it is because Peter Siddle was playing county cricket and he sort of took it back and taught everyone how to bowl. So there aren't as many Indian seamers in county cricket for long periods of time. They might play short periods of time, so they don't always pick it up. Look, it's a huge ball. It's changed cricket, right? I mean, Virat Kohli was clocking cricket, and the wobble ball came in, and he's never really been able to handle it correctly. He's not the only one. Lots of players around the world have had the same issue. It really has changed cricket. I talk about it a lot in the book because it is something that it's one of the biggest noticeable shifts in the history of cricket. So yeah, you're going to have to go up against that. What I would say is the wobble ball is a lot more dangerous if the wicket's seaming. If you take away the seam, the wobble ball's still dangerous. But I think if I don't know if you watch much of the England Zimbabwe test, everyone was bowling the wobble ball in that one, and the England bowlers still got against a very very ordinary Zimbabwe batting lineup, they still got a bit of tap at times, right? Especially against the better players. So it wasn't as if Trent Bridge was suddenly unplayable because they were bowling that delivery. And so you need a little bit of assistance from the ball and a little bit of assistance from the pitch to be able to do it consistently. But yeah, I don't think there's anyone on the horizon in English cricket who is a traditional seam bowler or a traditional swing bowler anymore. Everyone is basically a wobble ball bowler that I could think of.
Right. And since you mentioned that the conditions are quite dry in England this time around, I have been thinking through this, like because many people they are still advocating for four seamers in England, Shardul Thakur being the fourth one. My mind is going towards Kuldeep Yadav again and again. Do you think, given the conditions and also, given the way England play their cricket under Brendan McCullum, Kuldeep Yadav can be that X factor for India in this series?
Yeah, I mean the problem with Kuldeep Yadav is if you play him, he has to bat at number 8. So it's
Yep.
not just about his bowling, is it? It's also about his batting. Uh, Old Trafford is a place where Matt Parkinson took a lot of wickets, where I think Shane Warne has a pretty good record as well. It's a pitch that certainly wrist spinners can, and not all wickets in England suit wrist spinners naturally. So yeah, look, I can see that. I can actually see them. The way that might make more sense is whether you need Shardul Thakur or Nitesh Reddy. You might not need those sort of bowlers that traditionally would be handy in England may not be handy in England this year. The second spinner might be more handy. So Washington might come back, right? Like as a player who is handy. That's how much, and we're not going to know. But if you go back to the Trent Bridge test, have a look at the bowling loads. Sikandar Raza bowled what 25 overs on day one, I want to say. Shoaib Bashir bowled quite a lot of overs as well for England. That's Trent Bridge. That's a ground that's known for swinging and seaming, right? That's where we are in English cricket right at the moment. With that's what the conditions are dictating. So the Ash put it this way, Ashwin might have retired too early, right? The whole idea that they weren't going to play Ashwin in this series, he might have been the perfect bowler for these conditions. But as you said, it might be Kuldeep, it might be Washington. I think if you go back to traditional English conditions, having someone like Nitesh or Shardul makes sense. Ball's nibbling around a little bit, it's swinging, it's curving, it's seaming, it's doing whatever you need it to do. Then you can get away with those guys bowling 10 to 12 overs a day, maybe 15 if they're bowling well. They can nip out the odd wicket as well, and that's fine. You may not find that is the case here. And it might also allow, if you're going to bowl Jadeja more, you might not need two spinners. You might be able to stack your batting and have the specialist four bowlers and having Jadeja bowling 25 to 30 overs a day, if that's the case, and rotating your quicks. So there are multiple ways, I think, of going about it.
Okay, you spoke about the bowling, but let's flip to the batting right now. You mentioned about Nitish
Mhm.
Kumar Reddy batting potentially at number 8, but from what I understand, India might even be looking at him as a potential number 6 over there, and his competition is with probably a Dhruv Jurel. So after Rohit and Kohli have retired, I feel there are two vacancies in the team. Assuming Shubman Gill bats at number 4, one is at number 3, and there are two contenders over there. One is Sai Sudarshan, and the second one is probably Karun Nair, who they might lean towards because of his experience, because Rohit and Kohli are not there anymore, and suddenly you feel the team is short of experience over there, and hence they might go for Karun Nair. And one at number 6, where you can either have Dhruv Jurel or you can have a Nitish Kumar Reddy. So, what do you make of the batting at the moment for India?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of talented players. They have plenty of different options. You could almost shuffle the top four guys up in almost any order you want. Jaiswal's probably the only one who doesn't need to move, right?
Hmm.
Karan Nair could be a backup opener. He could be a number 3. He can probably bat at number 5, and KL Roll is all those things as well, right? So I think that gives them pretty good flexibility. I think just looking at the A game, it looks like KL's going to open, yeah, as you said, and then it's out of Sai Sudarshan and Karan Nair at number 3. Again, that makes perfect sense. I've got no problem with Nitin playing at number 6, as long as if that's the case, that the issue that you have then, if you don't have a specialist number 6, and I'm not saying he can't bat, but what I am saying is if you don't have someone who's going to average, let's say 40 plus batting at number 6, right? You then have Jadeja at 7, and then at 8, do you not have a bowler at that point? Because Shardul is not an all-rounder, Kuldeep is not an all-rounder. Like they can hit occasionally, or Kuldeep can block occasionally, and Shardul can obviously hit occasionally, but they're not all-rounders. So if you're going to play that lineup anyway, are you getting that much more out of your bowling? And now you look at 6 bowling options, right? So I think, and this is up to them. That I haven't been watching any of the A games, so I haven't seen who's in form or not. But I think you'd be better off just picking your 6 best batters in this situation, and then having Jadeja at number 7 and giving yourself flexibility in that way, rather than having a guy who's batted at number 8 now who's going to bat at number 6. That doesn't make as much sense to me. I don't see what the advantage is then. Again, unless the wickets help his bowling, and of recent times they haven't been.
Fair enough. So are you also saying that this summer batting depth, basically having a proper number 8 or at least having a all-rounder at number 8 is more important than ever, given the conditions?
No, not really. I think, well, given the conditions, I would say the most important thing is at the moment, do you have a team who can take 20 wickets, right? But I would almost always say that because that's how you win test matches. So the idea that you need a weak number 8 as a bowler because they can bat a little bit, I don't know how many times that's ever won anyone a test match. Whereas taking 20 wickets wins people test matches all the time. So I would always focus on that. But I suppose what I'm saying is that you don't have to have a weak number 8. Jadeja could bat number 8 for you if you wanted to, right?
Hmm.
You can have a very strong number 8 and you go in with 4 bowlers and you could maybe bat Washington or, as you said, Nitesh at number 6 or 7, if that's the case. Like there are multiple options there if they want that stronger batting order. But Nitesh at number 8 doesn't really make any sense because his bowling isn't frontline bowling, right? So, and you can't get the most out of him as a batter because he's coming in at 8. And what's Shardul's batting average down to? About 16 or something? Like, I know he made a bunch of runs and everyone got really excited for a little while, but it's kind of gone back to what his first class batting average is now. What are we up to? No, so it's at 19.47. So his batting is beneath Mitchell Stark, right?
Ooh.
Mitchell Stark's not an all-rounder, right? And so he's beneath Mitchell Stark's level. But the advantage that a team like Australia has is Mitchell Stark and Pat Cummins both average around the same amount. And so combined, they're a number 8. Whereas in Shardul's case, behind him, you don't really have anything, right? Like, and so I just think you worry about taking the 20 wickets first, and that's how you build your side.
And that's where I feel Kuldeep Yadav might have a role to play. And hence, I personally am
Yeah.
advocating for Kuldeep Yadav. But I think, as you rightly said, India This probably was the perfect time to play both Jadeja and Ashwin overseas and have that very strong number seven, number eight, and have two high quality finger spinners. And they might
Well,
just miss.
you know what's done India out is basically global warming, right? Because essentially all these different climates are changing all around the world. Like Australia's climate is changing, and so suddenly in Australia you get wickets now where they're seam friendly for the first time ever. Like the ball's nipping around everywhere. South Africa's now spin friendly. England is now dry and batting friendly. These are all changing climates, so these pitches are changing in real time because the global climates are changing, right? When Ashwin was playing, it didn't really make sense all the time for to have him on the side. Whereas now you could almost take two spinners in some of the test matches in South Africa, depending on the pitches that you play.
In the old days, you would come to England with swing bowlers,
Mhm.
right? Like that was what you loaded up on. In Australia, you wanted really fast bowlers, right? In South Africa, you probably wanted a combination of those two things. That isn't really the cricket that we play anymore, right? A lot of South African wickets now can be very spin heavy. They're either incredibly seam dependent or spinners do quite well. Australian wickets now nibble around in a way that they never have in my lifetime. Some of that is the ball, but some of that is the pitches. And England, we that a dry summer now in England is way drier. Like I moved to England 17 years ago. It's way hotter and drier in England when they have a dry period now than it ever was when I moved over. Like so and this is the same with some of the other places around the world as well. The humidity levels are changing, right? Moisture levels are changing. Heat is changing. So I think now you need a flexibility to not say, oh, we're not going to use you, Ashwin, until next year. It's like, well, actually, you might have needed Ashwin on two of these tests, right? Whereas you didn't need him in Australia. Australia was the perfect example of Australia probably didn't even need their spinner, right? But going ahead, you need to be a bit more flexible, and the old ways of doing things don't always work.
All right, Jared. So before we let you go, I just want to circle back to the art of batting for a moment. You have spoken to batters, you have broken down stories. So what do you hope readers take away from this book?
That's a really good question, actually. I think I want them to understand batting a little bit more. I think I want them to, and through writing this book, I gave information to Ross Taylor about his batting that he didn't know before, right?
Wow.
You have when you do such a deep dive into something as crucial as batting, and my book covers what about 140 years. It doesn't really talk too much about pre-WG Grace, but there's a little bit of pre-WG Grace as well. When you start to look into it and you start to actually explain what batting is and how it works and what it means and everything, I think you can learn a lot about the game that you don't necessarily always know. It also allows us to have conversations about batting that we haven't always had. I think in cricket, it's weird. I've always said cricket is a conversational sport, but sometimes the conversations are not exactly led in the right direction that they should be. And hopefully, with books like this, and Tim Wigmore's book on Test cricket coming out at the moment, and some of the work that Abhishek Mukherjee does, and others, we're trying to get it to the point where people are actually talking about the game. Because you listen to commentators, and these guys know so much, but when they commentate, you don't learn a lot from them,
Right.
right? And the truth is that this is it's such a complicated art. I'll tell you one great story from the book that Raul Dravid taught me, which is, do you know what the hovering front foot is?
No idea.
It's a very modern cricket term. So traditionally in cricket, you would jump on your front foot, right? Because bowlers didn't bowl many bounces, and England dominated cricket, right? And in England, you wanted to smother the ball before it swung or seamed away, right? So you would jump on your front foot. And then suddenly, probably about 30 or 40 years ago, people started going, wait a minute, these bowlers are too fast and they're too short. The West Indian bowlers, you can't jump on your front foot to them. So this thing starts happening, which is the hovering front foot. And if once I've said it, you'll know exactly what I mean. Joe Root is the genius of this. So if you
Mm.
go and have a look at Shubman Gill or Joe Root, you'll see exactly what I mean. What they do is they put their front foot down a little bit, but they're not committed. So they can jump back, they can jump forward, they can move it side to side. And that's what cricket is called, this hovering front foot. So I said to Raul Dravid, okay, so now we know that this is a thing and we're just learning about it. You're a coach. How do you coach it to people? And he's like, wow, that's the problem. Because I can see exactly when the person should be making that movement, right? But if you try and teach someone to do it by telling them, you're always too late or too early, right? And so a lot of what we do in batting is so subconscious that there are probably Bradman probably had a hovering front foot, right? Like lots of different players probably had this, but the ability to teach someone else how to do it is almost impossible, right? These are the sorts of things we should be talking about in cricket because maybe someone, some scientist or some kid or some video game player can work out a way of doing that, right? Of actually helping people through. But if we don't talk about batting correctly, and how many times you watch commentary and no one ever talks about the hovering front foot, and yet
Never.
players, it's all they talk about. It was brought up in my research about by 25 different players, right?
Wow.
They just kept talking about this thing, and we don't hear about it as fans. And that's what you want a book to be. You want the book to be, your question about the wobble ball before is another perfect example of why does the wobble ball work, right? And so once you start explaining the geometry or the physics of the wobble ball, people start to go, oh, okay, now I understand why this is so dangerous because the ball, when it nips back and hit the top of leg stump, the ball, when it straightens, can hit the top of off stump. And if it straightens too much, it goes past the outside edge altogether. So I can get bowled, LBW, and caught behind or caught in slips all in one delivery, right? And then you go, well, oh, okay. And then you ask the players, and like, can you tell if a wobble ball is coming? And they're like, well, I can tell he's bowled the wobble ball, but I don't know which way it's going to go until it bounces, right? So that's not the case with swing. You can tell swing out of the hand which way it's going to go, right? So again, what are we really talking about here? We're talking about the fact that our game is not always communicated correctly. And so hopefully by writing books like this, you get to the point where you can start to communicate all that sort of stuff to everyone else. And that's where our game should go because we want everyone to have this knowledge, not just the ones who are lucky enough to play professional cricket.
Wow, I mean, these couple of snippets which you've told me, I definitely am getting my hands on the book very soon, as soon as it launches in India. I think
The
23rd of
23rd of
June.
June.
23rd of June, absolutely, yes. I'll be among the first ones to, buy the copy. And yep, hopefully, uh, we can have such conversations because you rightly pointed out, commentary these days, it teaches us pretty much nothing. And it's sad because they have a wealth of information over there, but it just does not come out for whatever reason. Is it the broadcaster or they are not able to communicate effectively?
I tell you what, a lot of it, I've got a lot of views on this because I do a lot of commentary myself. A lot of it is that broadcasters are really worried about losing people with technical stuff, right?
Hmm.
And they're really worried about casual fans not understanding stuff. But the
Hmm.
truth is that some of the stuff I've written about in the book is fascinating, and they are people. I've had casual fans who are not even big cricket fans who've been given this book. And it's like I feel like I know more about cricket because of this, right? And
Hmm.
it's not like I'm the genius here. I'm just listening to players tell me stuff and doing research and finding these sorts of things out. The truth is that if you want someone to love something, you actually need to let them get in and get their hands messy with it, right? And if we just keep saying, the same things over and over again, he needs a high front elbow, he needs to get to his foot to the ball.
Hmm.
Players haven't got their foot to the ball in 20 years, right? Like no one who's coaching cricket is talking about getting your foot to the ball anymore. They're talking about your head leading, right? Like we have to stop treating people like they're idiots. If these people have a casual love of cricket, let's show them the really cool stuff, right? So one of the things my book talks about is the fact that eyesight and how that affects things, and how Ross Taylor, before having his eye operation, averaged 50 in international cricket, and after having his eye operation, averaged 50 in international cricket, right? So what does that tell you about Ross Taylor? It's not just about eyesight, is it? It's about how he is reading the game and everything else, right? If
Right.
you tell a casual person that, it blows the top of their head off, because in their mind, they're like, every batter must have great eyesight, and that's why they're batting good. And it's like, no, they're actually predicting what is going to happen before it is bowled. That is magic, right? That is the art of batting.
Wow. And finally, before letting you go, this one is a bit personal. I know that you have done. There are a lot of people who love cricket, love the details, love the nuances, like you mentioned. What would you say to someone who wants to get into this domain of cricket analysis, content creation, writing? Basically the space you have created such a big legacy in. Any advice which you would like to give to people like me or others who are wanting to get into this field?
The easiest way to get into the media has never changed and probably will never change. The easiest way to get into the media, or whatever that may be, as you said before, all the different options, is to talk about things that people care about that aren't being covered, right? So I talked about Tim Wigmore before. Tim Wigmore is a perfect example of someone who he got into the media by covering cricket politics, right? Cricket business and associate cricket.
Hmm.
Now, when he started that, everyone went, "How's he going to make a career?" Well, of course
Hmm.
he's going to make a career because people want to know why these decisions are being made in cricket. The other person I mentioned before, Abhishek Mukherjee, right?
Hmm.
Cricket history is pretty well covered. Cricket history outside of England and Australia is not pretty well covered, right?
Right.
So his latest book was a history of cricket in 100 quotes. Is again trying to tell the story from the other side, right? Trying to tell the story of the voiceless people, right? And Abhishek Mukherjee has a really good career. Now, him and Tim Wigmore no longer have to do the stuff they did at the start. They now can do other things, right? But how did they get in? By finding a niche. My niche is the most simple thing in the world, and no one before me had ever done it. I covered global cricket. I didn't care who was playing, right? So, I'm in the middle of trying to organize a podcast on Oman at the moment, right? I
Wow.
just did 3 massive videos on Zimbabwe, right?
Wow.
That's because I care about all cricket and because I followed all cricket, right? Like I know that there's something going on with the Oman team because one day I turned on the TV and half the players I knew weren't playing in the next game. And I was like,
Hmm.
something must be happening here, right?
Hmm.
So I know that before I did it, no one covered global cricket, right? Freddie Wild became the England analyst. And when he started his career, he wrote about T20 cricket because he looked at the market and went, no one's writing about T20 cricket. That's what
Hmm.
you do. You find the thing that interests you that will interest other people that isn't being covered and you cover it. It can be really niche or it can be really wide, right? And it doesn't mean you have to stay in that lane. Like Tim Wigmore doesn't cover associate cricket anymore, right? He doesn't do a lot
Right.
of cricket politics anymore, right?
Hmm.
Abhishek Mukherjee is the editor of Wisden Cricket India or whatever his title is over there at
Correct.
the moment. He does lots of different things, right? Freddie Wild became the England analyst and the RCB analyst. He just raised the trophy, right? Um, the how you get in though is doing the things that other people won't do. Whereas what most people try and do is do the things that everyone else is doing. Right? You're not going to be able to do what Jarrod Kimber does better than Jarrod Kimber because he invented this for himself.
Correct.
But you'll be able to do a whole bunch of things that Jarrod Kimber will never be able to do. And if you find the right one and you're passionate about it, that's how you can get in.
Jarrod, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being over here, for all your insights, your generosity, and clarity. To all our listeners, go check out The Art of Batting. It's not just a book for fans, it's a book that helps you see the game differently. And I'm sure you must have understood this by whatever Jarrod has spoken about in this episode. And follow Jarrod's work, his YouTube, his podcast, his newsletters, whatever this man does, you definitely will end up as a smarter cricket fan. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.